This is Forwritten, and our tagline is "Growing Ideas Together." And this is a logo that was made by a friend of mine, her work is also on the website. So to start off, who am I? And this is the picture on the website of my little author bio. That's why I chose it. So my name's Hunter Cook, as you said. I'm from Ada, Oklahoma, which is where I was born and raised, and I grew up on a farm there. And I have been writing since I was 7 years old. Again, I wanted to start writing comic books because I've loved comic books ever since I was a kid, and that's just something that I always wanted to do. And I never developed the skill of drawing, so I decided around the time I was 10 years old that I wanted to be a novelist. And I started writing little prototype novels. When I was 14, I tried to write a full novel and try to finish it, and by the time I was 15, I realized it was awful. And so, around the time I switched to online school in the year of 2020, and then everyone switched to online school in the year of 2020, and that's when I started my novel, which, as you said, was Shadow of a Hero, which is about a boy with cancer and 9 months left to live who decides to be a superhero at that time. So, then, when I was 18 years old and I had already started college, I finally finished my first novel at the age of 18 by a week, and then I started the hard, difficult, awful journey of trying to get published. So I went to my professors, my English professors, and I asked them, how exactly do you get published? And they all gave me the advice that I should look for a literary agent, because most publishing agencies will not talk to you, just in general. They don't talk to regular people. And so I started going on manuscript wish lists and looking for literary agents. And I got this lovely email, which is my favorite email that I got back from them, because it is the only one that I know for a fact actually read what I sent them. Because everyone else gave me these automated, just, oh, it has nothing to do with you, this is just the way this business works, those kind of responses. This one I know, he read that. He read what I sent him. So I used to come home every day getting these emails feeling awful about myself and terrible. And no one wants to read that. But I eventually decided I didn't even want to write anymore because I felt like that. But that didn't last very long because I feel like at my core I am a writer. I go to bed and I think about writing. I wake up in the morning and I think about writing. Any idle moment I spend thinking about writing. So while I did consider stopping writing, I just never could. So that gets into publishing. The reason I showed this picture to describe publishing is because I looked up some statistics in preparation for starting this business, and one of them is the fact that 0.00017% of people, first-time writers, get a literary agent. You are more likely to be struck by lightning than to get a literary agent. That is a true statistics right there. Only 10% of people that get a literary agent, who are first-time writers, actually get traditionally published. So, I realized I didn't really stand a chance of getting traditionally published. So I looked into self-publishing. And I found out that self-publishing is awful. It is a hard, awful, long road. And so these companies like Amazon and places like that, they will gladly host your work, but they're not willing to give you any resources. You have to market it yourself, you have to put it places yourself, you have to make the cover for yourself. They're not willing to do anything for you, but they'll gladly share in your success if you are successful. And they'll take some of that money, but they won't help you along the way. Then, around my junior year of college, I was in an honors program, and I had to, for my honors program, do a project. And these projects were based around your class, right? And they had to go above and beyond a class that you were in. I was a management major, and so I was taking an entrepreneurship class. And over the course of this entrepreneurship class, I was trying to figure out how to make a project out of it, and it was just a class about starting a business. So I thought to myself, well, the best way to go above and beyond the course is to actually start the business itself. And so I entered a competition called the Entrepreneurs Cup, which is a statewide competition, which they would pick 8 people out of the state, and a bunch of people from a bunch of different schools would send in business plans for their business. And I was one of them, and I was one of the 8 that got selected. Then you would go up to Oklahoma City, and you would pitch your business in front of a panel of judges, and they would select 2 of you, and you got cut. Those people got cut. Luckily, I didn't. And then I went the next day with another 3 panel of judges, and 6 of us competed. And I, for whatever reason, had a room full of school children that were watching mine. No one else had that, I don't know why. But I got to pitch in front of 3 new judges and a whole bunch of children. And these judges were different ones that had different expectations. And then a solid month and a half passed before I ever heard back on how well I did in the competition when we went to a banquet and they announced first, second, and third place. Third place got announced, wasn't me. Second place got announced, wasn't me. And then at that point I thought, well, obviously I didn't get first place, so I'm just going to sit here and be sad. And then I was first place. And I had to walk up there in front of all these nice, well-dressed rich people and smile. And as I was walking up there, my professor, who's also in that photo, she looked at me and nudged me and said, you know, you can smile, right? You understand that? So that's my best impression of a smile, as you can see. And that's me holding my trophy. And for that, I won $13,000, which is a lot of money, which I used to start this business. So I bought an LLC, and I created a website using WordPress, and I just started adding stories. And mainly, I started out by emailing people from my college. We had a magazine at Central University where people submit writing work, and I would go through the list of names and bother everyone on there. And then I added their work, anyone that actually responded. Then I got bigger and bigger, and I started buying ads and things like that, but that's basically where I started off. So the question on everybody's mind, what exactly is Forwritten? Forwritten, the name itself, is a portmanteau of the words forbidden and written, because the idea is that I'm giving you works that wouldn't be traditionally published and wouldn't succeed in the self-publishing world. Not because they're bad, but because 90% of people don't succeed in those worlds, and I don't think that all of that 90% is bad. And so what I do is I read the things that people submit me. There's a submit tab up here. And then I go through it. I make little edits here and there, and I decide if I actually want to host them. And if I host them, I put them on the website. See, this is the launch page for the website itself. When you click here, you can search by genre. So we have novels, short stories, poems, and manuscripts for film and television. And you can go on there and you can search and see what you want to read. Or you can search by author, and every author on the website is listed here, and you can go, if you like some of their work, you'll probably like more of it. And that's how Forwritten is set up, and then we have our social medias here. But the idea is, I'm hosting your work. If it's not terrible, like grammatically speaking, if it's polished work, I'll host it, even if it's not something that I traditionally would like, even if it's of a genre that I myself wouldn't read. This is work that I think deserves to be out there because somebody might like it. It might get an audience. And I think if people might be able to get the audience, they should be able to get an audience. And on the pages of Forwritten, there's a comment section where people can talk to you, and if you do have typos, they'll probably point them out. And you can interact with your audience directly and change your work in real time. Because the work on Forwritten is laid out in a web serial format, which is one that doesn't require an ISBN number, which means that you don't have to pay every time you post stuff on Forwritten, or I post it. You submit it to me and I put it on there. I don't have to pay every time I do that because it's not a traditionally published work. And so you can change it as much as you want, you just have to email me first. And if you want your stuff taken off Forwritten, you just have to email me. Now, what exactly is on Forwritten? My novel that was previously mentioned, this is fan art. Someone drew of it a long time ago. This is the main character. So we host novels. We have my novel that I wrote. We have a novel that a professor at my university wrote. And we have a sci-fi rendition of Pride and Prejudice that someone from my college wrote. If that excites you, go ahead and read it. But that's the novels we have right now. We have another one coming pretty soon. We have short stories. Lots and lots and lots of short stories. A lot of them written by me. But this in particular is from an art exhibit that my friend Lauren George, who also made the logo for Forwritten, she did an art exhibit for all her short stories that are posted on my website that she lovingly refers to as the Georgeverse. And this is from one of my favorite ones. It's called Wes and Becca Hunt Monsters. And I actually have an episode of a podcast that I do where I interview some of the authors. And the topic of that podcast was her short story, Wes and Becca Hunt Monsters. But this is the desk of the main character of said short story. And as you can see, it's very messy and just an average teenager's desk. We have poetry. This is a poem called Loss by Haley Lemon. Take a minute and read it if you want. Not all of them are as emotional and sad as this. Some of them are happy, but this one is very good, and I like it, so that's why I chose it. But we host poetry. We host poetry collections. There's no specific genre requirement on anything that we host on Forwrten, whether it be novels, short stories, or poems. And then we have film scripts. This is an excerpt from currently our only film script called Dibs, which is a coming-of-age story about a boy who calls dibs on a girl, and his friends have to deal with that. And there's a scene involving a penguin, which is why I chose it. So future plans for Forwrten. In the future, I want to monetize Forwrten and take 50% of the income I get from subscriptions per month and divide it out amongst the authors based on view count. Until I can get a more consistent readership, I'm holding off on that plan. I also would like to start doing audiobooks, but again, that's more of a future plan. And things like having artists do covers for work on there. And I would also like to be able to take the data that I have on most viewed work per month and start buying ISBN numbers for those works and selling printed copies on the website itself. And also merchandising and things like that. Again, these are all future plans for Forwrten. And if you would like to access Forwrten, here's a QR code. You can also just type in forwrten.com, which will take you directly to that. And from there, you can access the social medias of Forwrten, and you can view all of those. I'll get everybody in a minute to do that. But again, there's no genre. Another thing that I didn't like about traditional publishing is that one of the limitations of it is that it's hard to find a traditional publisher because a lot of them only do specific genres, and a lot of literary agents only do specific genres. And so you get hooked up with a literary agent who may not even be knowledgeable of how to get your genre published, and then they have to try and mash puzzle pieces together until they can find a publisher who's willing to publish your work. And so it's just a perfect chance of a perfect chance. Again, it's like getting struck by lightning. The odds are not in your favor.